All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the final presentation of Shark Week. It has been an absolute fantastic journey. We've had some really good speakers throughout the week, and I hope you really enjoyed it. This was a fair bit of effort to put together, and we do this every year. My name is Jeremy Tang. I'm one of the co-founders of Shark Indicators, and with me here is Zach White, the product specialist, as well as online we have Keith Wolf and Mike Bandy, who will be answering questions as best they can in the chat while we present, but there'll be Q&A section at the end of the presentation. But really what I want to do right now is actually just take this opportunity to thank you. Thank you for, first of all, attending the webinar, for being our loyal either customers or potential customers and following the stuff that we do. It's, this is the kind of stuff that we're very passionate about. So today's topic is going to be about BlackBird, and you've probably heard about it a little bit throughout the week, and some of you guys are new to our product line may be asking, like, what is this BlackBird product? What does it do? And I've got this kind of strangely, mysteriously titled that talks about automated trading and how it has to do with mimicking human trading. And we're going to get into that and how exactly we're able to mimic a human trader using our software and why that's important. But to get there, I want to sort of lay the groundwork a little bit. And really, when you think about it, there's two different main camps of traders. You have discretionary traders, you got automated traders, and the two don't really see eye to eye, right? You're kind of in either one camp or the other. And automated traders tend to think discretionary traders are sort of wild cowboys that shoot from the hip, and they trade these trade systems that aren't necessarily repeatable or measurable. And they use a tremendous amount of skill, which is great, but they're at the whims of kind of human emotions, and humans just make mistakes all the time. Whereas discretionary traders look at the automated trading systems that are out there, and I'd say they're quite right in thinking this, and they tend to do stupid things that they wouldn't do because the programming of these automated trade systems are very simplistic, and they make stupid moves that would make them bite their nails and think, this is really nerve-wracking just to watch. And these automated trade systems are just subject to these wild equity curve swings, which make them feel very uncomfortable. And both would be correct. But what we want to show here today is that it ultimately doesn't really matter which camp that you sit in. When you use a software like BlackBird, it's basically designed to support you no matter what kind of trading style that you may use. So we like to think of discretionary and automated trading not just kind of an either-or situation, but more like a spectrum, okay, where you basically have discretionary trading on one side, if you imagine, and then you have fully automated trading on the other side. And really, it's a spectrum with a lot of steps in between fit on the spectrum. And also, we allow you to basically switch seamlessly between different modes of trading. And so you're going to see BlackBird in action, and you're going to see how it doesn't really matter where you fit on the spectrum. And even if, say, you decide you want to trade discretionary one day, in the middle of the day, say you just decided to go fully automated, you can do that in BlackBird, and you can actually switch back and forth, and tool will support you either way. But to sort of get a picture of the full automated spectrum, the full automated side of it, let's define kind of what that is. And I think a lot of people, when they think about automated trading in the beginning, and they're just sort of new to this whole idea, they tend to think of just the entries. Okay, we see a lot of little products out there too that are very focused on the entries. That tends to be something that that a lot of vendors focus on as well, is managing the entry. But as you know, that's really only one part of the puzzle, and I'm just sort of illustrating here. We think it is really just a third of the puzzle in this case. And really, there's this whole other aspect here about managing the trade while it's live and managing the trade intra-trade. And I'm going to allude to this a little bit further in the next slide, but basically, this is kind of where a lot of automated trading systems, automated computer trading systems really break down. Because if you compare an automated trading system to what a human trader can do, it is woefully limited in a lot of cases. And you're going to see in a minute how we address this problem with BlackBird. The final step is also another one that's quite overlooked, and that's the risk and money management aspect of automated trading, or rather I should say trading in general. And that's kind of like the account level stuff that a lot of people tend to overlook. And we're going to see how BlackBird as well can help you automate that side of the equation as well. So all of you guys in here are obviously quite versed with NinjaTrader. You're probably wondering, because the NinjaTrader does come with something called the ATM, where does that fit in this chart? Where does this fit in this whole picture? Well, in this sort of picture of BlackBird's entire functionality, it kind of fits in this little area here. Like, it helps you do the trade management, and what it can do is rather limited. You can sort of, I think you have 3 some odd stop losses that define, and they basically step up according to different sort of profit targets that you may enter and that sort of thing. But basically, you're going to see how BlackBird encompasses all that functionality and a lot more. So, as I kind of mentioned before, one of the cornerstones philosophy behind BlackBird is the ability to get rid of this notion that automated trading is like behaves in a stupid way, right? So that is one of the biggest roadblocks that we found for people using automated trading systems, is basically that they look at it and they're like, man, it's just doing stupid things that I would never do. And if you ever watch a real human discretionary, like, professional trader, they're doing a lot of advanced stuff that automated trade systems just aren't programmed to do. And so in order to get over this, and you're going to see kind of in a moment this demonstrated live, we basically designed BlackBird to allow you to program in automated trading that is so powerful that it basically mimics a human trader. And I mean, it can do things like it can look at price action indicators, and it can change up the way the trade is behaving in real time. It's rather powerful what it can do, and I think it's really just best to show you rather than to try to describe it. So what I'm going to do here is take you on a really small journey, okay? And we're starting on the left side of that spectrum that we saw earlier. And I'm just going to introduce a couple tools that we use, that we built into BlackBird to kind of help each particular style of trader out, and how we enhance your trading style, again, no matter what kind of style you have. So let's talk about the discretionary trading tools. We have something in there that I'd like to talk about. This is a really neat little design feature that we built in. We call it Trade Fit. And basically, if you think of this idea, right, where you have say a notion where you're like, I want to just risk only $700 per trade, right? But if you're in a market that happens to be, say, extremely volatile, versus maybe next day it's very calm, okay? And a volatile day, you're going to widen your stops, probably distance it further out than you would in, say, a calm day. And you don't, obviously, because you don't want to get stopped out, but by widening the stops, you're also increasing the risk per contract that you're putting on. And so if you want to keep your trade risk to the same dollar value, $700, for example, you're going to have to scale down the number of contracts that you enter in per trade. And so we actually have a really neat tool in there that will automatically scale your trades to fit the risk parameters that you've specified. And it's actually quite a sophisticated system, and we're going to show just a little bit of how that works, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. A second tool I'd like to talk about is the scaling in positions, and that's we have a neat little feature where you can just press a button, quickly scale in, and increase your position size on the fly. So those are just two neat little tools, and there's a heck of a lot more coming that we're going to show you. But if we kind of move your attention now to sort of the middle section of the spectrum, okay, I want to talk a little bit about how or why semi-automated trading may be desirable for you. And actually, it's by looking at the poll results that we saw earlier, the majority of you guys actually called yourself semi-automated traders. And the reason why that's desirable for a lot of people is because you can get a good mix of manual control as well as automated execution. And you can have the best of both worlds you can use the computer and take advantage of its speed and accuracy, because computers, like, let's face it, are just faster and more accurate than humans. And then you can also use BlackBird as a tool to remove a lot of stress and do a lot of the heavy lifting and allow you to execute these trades, more or less stress free, and also, take over manually if you want. Basically, we all know, trading is a pretty stressful thing to do. And anytime you can sort of offload a lot of the busy work, a lot of the tedious stuff off to the computer, that's going to enable you to trade longer and with more alertness, and hopefully better results as a result of that. If we move over to the right side of that spectrum and talk a little bit about the full auto capabilities of BlackBird, like, think of it as, you're stepping back, and now you're more kind of an overseer, managing the big picture rather than minutely managing each individual trade and how those trades are playing out. And so one of the really cool tools that we've built in is something called the daily watermark. This is a money management tool that actually a lot of hedge fund managers and trading desks use to manage the account, not just the trades, but the account itself. And I was just going to kind of go through a little bit example, but the basis of this is, like, actually, let me paint a scenario, for example, right? How many of you have actually traded up to some sort of positive result, like sometime early in the morning or midday, and then through a series of really bad trades, gave all your money back to the market, and then some, actually losing money in the end? And I don't know about you, but that's probably got to be one of the most frustrating things as a trader, is walking with a losing day when you were actually up at some point during the day. And so there is kind of a money management strategy or tactic that a lot of people use to avoid that situation. And the whole idea being that is, if you're able to have more winning days than losing days, you're going to have a nicer equity curve. So let's go through kind of an example here. Imagine that you start off the day, got 0 trades, you haven't put a trade on, but you make one trade and you're up $250. Okay, so now you can actually tell BlackBird, make this the high watermark or the daily watermark, and note it. And then now put this imaginary stop loss, if you will, for your account just 25% below it. We call this the daily watermark stop. The idea being is, if for whatever reason your cumulative profit breaks this or pierces this line, just stop trading for the day and you're out with a profit. So imagine your second trade goes on, you lose a little bit of money, you're still good to go as it hasn't pierced the line yet. Your next trade goes on, it does really well, and now the daily watermark has been moved up to 480, and as well as that imaginary stop loss for your account, the daily watermark stop, has also been moved up as well. Now just imagine a scenario where you didn't do so well after that, and finally you pierced it, you went past that line. BlackBird will take you out, stop your trading for the day, and voila, you've walked away with a winning day. And there's some nuances here, like BlackBird has a lot of flexibility with how this is handled. For example, this particular line can be pierced intra-trade, and so this trade in this example, maybe it went through and closed out as it would naturally, and it broke the line. But if you'd like to, you can actually have it stop right, like intra-trade with unrealized profit. Say it breaks this line, this cumulative profit line inside the trade itself. You can have BlackBird just shut everything down for the day and you're done, just guaranteeing that you never go below this line. And that may or may not be desirable for you, depending on your trade system. But if you have a pretty good risk management policy in place, and you know how much you're risking per trade, then doing something like this is really no big deal, because you know that you only lose X dollars per trade. The most you could possibly lose would be some controllable amount that you can predict. Okay, so next I'm going to go through, this is what the actual BlackBird interface looks like, and I'm just going to really quickly illustrate kind of how we've broken down the interface itself to accommodate the different styles of trading along the spectrum. So this middle section here is the realm of the semi-automated trading. And this is great for, or not great, but this is where you actually design how the trade plays out in terms of, what happens to the trade while it's live, what happens to the orders, how they move around according to certain triggers, and corresponding actions. There's a ton of options here. It's very flexible. And you're going to see an example of kind of some of this stuff in action. But just know, of course, I'm not going to go through and sort of explain everything, but just know that that there's a tremendous amount of flexibility here. This is our new trigger system here that we just built. And that's sort of ubiquitous through any sort of triggering of different actions and how certain things behave. Just be aware there's a ton of advanced logic, and the whole goal again was to allow you to craft and design trades so that they can mimic what a human trader actually does. Okay, so in the middle of the section here, we have really the component that you need to do what the entries. And once you got that, then you have a system where that can basically enter by itself, manage the trade through the life of trade to the end of the trades, and then just keep going until you say manually shut off the system for the day. And of course, because us being Shark Indicators, we're going to build it so that it is fully and tightly integrated with Bloodhound. If you're not familiar with Bloodhound, it's our other main product, and that's actually a signal generator or signal engine. And those signals that come out of Bloodhound, which are fully customizable, you can pipe right through to BlackBird and use that to drive entry signals or exit signals. And actually, I'll just add aside, you can also use that technology and that logic to drive as well actions with the order sets themselves. And also, really cool feature that this is another trademark of our software design is the ability to use any indicator that may be installed on your system. And so imagine you bought XYZ trading system from vendor ABC. You can plug those in, given as long as the output is correct, and pipe that right into BlackBird and build a trading system around it. Up at the top here, this is where we situate all our fully automated controls. So imagine you have a fully built system down here, and then basically it describes the entries, it describes the exits, it describes how the trades evolve over time. The only kind of last component, again, was that third piece of that puzzle, and that's the money management, the risk management. And once you kind of got that full circle done, you actually have a full-blown automated trade system. And it's really something, again, that you can either turn on, use, and let it run, or you can jump in and manually take over at any time. So I think at this point, it's appropriate to pass the torch over to Zach, and he's going to actually show you some of the things that I've been talking about live.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. All right, gentlemen, give me just a sec to switch over the video here. All right, there we go. Okay, everybody should be seeing my screen right now. And also, I'd just like to do another sound check here, because it seems like there's always somebody in a webinar here that unfortunately has sound problems. So I just want to see if anybody else is having sound problems. Of course, I guess if you are, you probably won't hear me anyways. But at least if I can get a bunch of responses back from people that don't have issues. All right, thank you. Good, all right, yeah, Greg, Frank, Daniel, Rick, Tom. Okay, thanks, gentlemen. All right, good. So I guess, yeah. All right, so let me give me a moment here to introduce myself for anybody that's new to Shark Indicators. So I am most known for hosting the training workshops here. So I host live training sessions for both of our flagship products, right? So we have Bloodhound, which I do on Thursdays, and everybody is welcome to join in, jump in these workshops here while they're live. You don't have to be an owner or anything. You can come in and ask your questions. It's just a kind of casual environment. So, and then for BlackBird, those are hosted on Fridays, right? Or of course, since the weekend's coming up, if you want, you can check out the recordings here. So we have a nice list for Blackbird and Bloodhound here, so you can just watch some recordings and kind of get a better feel for what our software is if you're new to that stuff. So, all right, so that's what I do. And so now let's get to the fun part, right? This is what everybody's here for, to see what Blackbird can do. And, keep in mind, what I have really, what I put together really is what I consider a simple demonstration. I want to keep things kind of simple, because I don't want any kind of concepts to go over people's heads, and I don't want to lose anybody. So I kept things kind of deliberately simple, really just to emphasize and illustrate, the flexibility that Blackbird has. So, all right, so let me, let's see, let me get the market replay going. So I do have the playback connection all queued up, and we're going to have a downtrend coming up here soon, so I can demonstrate to you some of the capabilities of what you can program in, for order management. And then later we'll have an uptrend, so I can demonstrate the other part of it. So let me take a moment to show you one of the cool things that we have not seen anywhere else in the industry here, which is called the Dynamic Planner. So what this does is this gives you a preview state of where your orders are going to be placed, right, when the trade is first opened. And again, this is just a preview state. So these are not live orders here, right? And I'm going to pause the playback here for a moment. So if you notice, right, the flags are a little muted. So they're actually translucent, all right? And that's to emphasize that these are not live orders, that you're in a planning state, the planning phase here. And if I actually move one of these profit targets up a little bit, hopefully you can see that the blue dots behind the flag, right? So the flags are a little translucent to, again, indicate that you're in a planning stage. And so the purpose of this, really this was built for those discretionary traders here that like using, support resistance based, style of trading here. So let's say, right, so we can see here, right, the market is a little bit market's a little bit in a consolidation phase. So if you're wanting to trade this, you might be thinking, I might want to keep my profit targets, up here in this consolidation. So what you can do with the Dynamic Planner is kind of plan this out ahead of time, like so. Move your profit targets, inside, this previous low that you see here, and then you might want to move your stops, out here a little further out, away from most, a recent high, right? So you can plan this out, and then once you're all set to go, and of course I could move my entry order too here, but once you're ready to go, you can hit the big blue execute button, and then your trade is placed live, exactly how you planned it out, just like that. So that's really the core purpose of the Dynamic Planner here. Also, I can use the Dynamic Planner to illustrate the trade fit here. So we have a scale to fit button here that I can enable. And before I get going too far here, let's switch over to this order settings. And inside the money management, I can show you I've turned on the trade fit and the risk per trade. I've set my risk per trade to $700, right? So that what that means, what that's telling Blackbird is make sure that my risk, for any given trade is kept under $700, right? You can, so a maximum of $700. So you can go less, but don't go over it. So, all right, so let's get back there. So going back to the Dynamic Planner here, if I hit the Plan Short button, I'll also want to point out, so normally, right, I've set my orders up. So my first profit target, I've set it up for 2 contracts, right? Submit 2 contracts. And the last profit target, I've set it up for 1 contract there. So now with getting back to dynamic planner, where with the scale to fit turned on, we can see here that actually what BlackBird was able to do was to scale up the number of contracts to 4, right? So I set up the default settings for 3 contracts, but BlackBird was able to scale it up to 4 contracts, right, based on where my stop loss is sitting, based on that risk, right? So let me just kind of stretch this out a little bit. Also, to help us visualize things, we have this risk reward panel here, so we can visually see what's going on here. So we can see the quantity is set to 4 contracts, and we can see our risk is calculated at $600, right? So with 4 contracts and with this stop loss distance, our risk is $400 when the trade is first placed, right, put on. And so now if I move my stop loss out like so, now we can see the quantity goes down to 2 contracts, and our risk is now calculated at $640, right? So there you go. BlackBird is basically just kind of automatically adjusting the quantity of contracts, so that way our risk is capped at that $700 limit that I set it to, right? So yeah, so there's that, the scale to fit. And it's not only the dynamic planner that has this as well. Since I do have that feature enabled in the settings, if I use the trade control buttons up here, then that will also scale up the number of contracts up or down. So it's just the dynamic planner gives us a great visual feedback, so we can kind of play out some different scenarios by, when we adjust our stop loss in and out, we'll get some instant visual feedback, playing out those different scenarios there. So, all right. So let me kind of take some time now to set up what you're about to see here. So first, let's take a look at this indicator here that's on my chart, right? So this is one of those ATR stop type of indicators. It's called a deviation stop. And hopefully you guys were here yesterday for Lizard Indicators presentation yesterday. So, Lizard Indicators, this is a great shop here for indicators. They have a ton of indicators here, a really good portfolio of different indicators here. And so what I'm using is one of their trailing stop indicators. And if we scroll down, it's this deviation stop indicator here that I'm using. So also just like to plug them for a sec. They do have a good special going on. So I hope you guys are going to take advantage of that as well. So, right. So that's what I'm using is their deviation stop indicator to just kind of illustrate, some of the simpler things that BlackBird can do. So, so what I've set up is the entry order, and let me get the playback connection going here. I'll get this turned on, and also, yeah. So what I've set up is the entry order. It's going to follow that inside line here. Let's stretch this out a tad bit, right? So we can see this indicator has 3 lines. So it's got this outer line, which is where my stops are going to follow, and then the inner line is what the entry orders are going to follow. And then my profit targets are just some simple, 35 and 50 tick profit targets there. So let's turn off the dynamic planner. Well, actually, let me just hit execute. There we go. So executed that. And so now, right, my entry orders are just going to trail or follow that stop indicator's inside line here. And let's see, we're going to get filled here at about 7:21. So I'm going to need to speed this up a little bit here. Right. So while this is speeded up, so what this first part of the demonstration, it's it's going to highlight what some of the simpler things you can do with a stop loss. So I'm gonna highlight, the stop losses trailing these indicators, but also I've added in some more complex capabilities for those stop losses to basically tighten up using different conditions, different scenarios that that you might come across when in the market when you're making a trade here. Let's see. All right, we're almost there. A few more seconds, and our entry orders are going to get filled here. And let me slow the market down a tad bit. There we go. All right, slow things down. Okay, so our stop losses are simply just they're going to start off by following the outer line here. But then once 25 ticks of unrealized profit has been made, and let's speed things up so we can get there. Yeah, so once 25 ticks has been made, our stop losses are going to split. So I've actually designed the stop loss for the first profit target to behave differently than the last stop loss. And the reason why I've done that is just to show you that you have total flexibility and control over all the orders, right? So you're not just locked into setting one set of rules for all your stop losses. You can control all the orders independent of each other, if you so wish, if you're that type of trader. So let's see here. So we need in a couple more seconds here. Let's speed things up shortly here. Our stop losses are going to split, and then I can explain to you what I've told BlackBird to do. There we go. All right, let me slow this down a little bit. Okay, so let me pause that to kind of explain what's going on here. All right, so in this trade, let's put this on the info panel. We can see that we've hit 25 ticks of profit, and currently it's at 24 ticks, but 25 ticks was hit, right? So what I did is I told our first stop loss, which is stop loss A, that once we get 25 ticks of profit, or basically once we get close to this first profit target, pull in, start using the middle indicator line here. Start using this middle ATR stop indicator line here. And so that's what it's done, right? So stop loss B is still following this outer line, but stop loss A has tightened up, right? And again, this is just to illustrate, that you can control each of these profit targets independently of each other, if that's the type of trader that you are. So let's continue this, and pretty soon our first profit target is going to get hit here, and then that's going to set us up for the next part here. All right, so let me slow this down. All right, so also what I set up is that once this first profit target is filled, so the trigger is actually the profit target getting filled. And then what happens is our last remaining stop loss, it was told move in, tighten up, and move into the inside line. And again, that was based on the first profit target getting hit there. Right, so that's where we're at right now. Now this last part that's going to happen here in a few seconds, so I had to actually stop it because it's going to happen here very quickly. So this last part that I'm going to demonstrate here for you actually came from our users in that workshop, right? So you remember, I host the daily workshops here. And so, right, some of the customers, we're trying to figure out a way of how to prevent wicks. If you've ever traded, guaranteed you've had a bar wick come down, and hit your stop loss, take you out of the trade, and then the market continues on without you, right? I mean, who here hasn't experienced that? So to kind of give you a little visual aid here, let me I'm going to scroll back here so we can see if I can find, I know somewhere back here I can find kind of an example here of a trend, you know, where the wick comes and it would hit the stop loss indicator, and then the trend continues on. And let's see, where is that? That's back here somewhere. Yeah, this is actually oil this day was pretty kind of range bound, but here we go. Here's the example. So let's say, right, you're able to get into the trade here, right, and then the market moves down, and then hopefully you guys can see, right, there's two wicks there that do punch up and touch the indicator, right, and so there's a high probability that that would have just touched your stop loss by a wick, and then we can see the trend continues on, right, to make more profits, you know. But of course, if your stop loss is riding this inside line, you know, and you get hit to the tick, then you're out of the trade. So, right, so the customers, you know, in the workshop there, you know, wanted to find a solution, and one of the customers came up with what I'd say is a good solution, which was, you know, he decided that he's going to back his stop loss up a little bit, you know, place the stop loss back a little bit, back here just a tad bit, and then keep an eye on what the bars are doing. Keep an eye on what the price is doing here. And so, for example, what happens, right, is our stop loss follows this middle line here, or maybe this outer line. You know, again, it depends on, you know, your trading style and the instrument, you know, where you're going to place that stop loss. But the condition is, or the solution to this, you know, to this having your stop losses picked off by some wick, the solution was that you monitor price, and what you do is you look for the bar to actually close inside your indicator, right? So you actually wait for the bar to close inside, you know, and not just, you know, wait for the wick, you know, to touch. So once that bar closes on the other side of the indicator, then you tell the stop losses, you know, okay, the trade's over, right? The market has decided it's going to close on the, you know, on the stop loss indicator. So now move my stop loss into the market and just close out the trade that way, right? So that was kind of the workaround, you know, to, you know, circumventing these wicks here. So that is what we're going to see here, right? So you can see our stop loss is up here in the middle, and let's get this going there. All right, and so shortly here, price is going to move up, and as soon as the bar closes just on the other side of our indicator, then that tells the stop loss, okay, close out the trade, and that stop loss gets moved into the market, right? So instead of waiting for the market to move all the way back and hit that stop loss further back, that stop loss is going to move into the market, and therefore at least trying to capture a few extra ticks, right? Capturing those few extra ticks can, you know, make a big difference in your trading day. All right, so here we go. In just a moment, that bar is going to close on the inside there, and there we go. You know, I'm not sure if you could see that. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, but what happened was that stop loss, that flag, literally moved down for just a split second. It moved itself down into the market and then instantly got filled. And of course, the flag, you know, went away as soon as that market got filled. So, and to know that, obviously the flags are gone, but also, you know, NinjaTrader will let you know, right, that your stop was moved into the market here, and it gives you these little warnings here. So yeah, these are something new to NinjaTrader 8, but they're just benign, so you can just kind of ignore these and just click OK. You know, those little message boxes, those little windows there are just telling you that your stop loss was moved into the market. You know, so therefore, basically, we know that our stop loss did what we told it to do, which is move into the market if that bar closes, you know, on the wrong side of the indicator. So, yeah. All right. So that's So that's kind of the first half, walking you through of some of the things that you can do, with your stop loss. And so now this next part, I'm going to illustrate some examples of what you can do with your profit targets. How you can, you can use BlackBird to manipulate your profit targets as well, right? Isn't it always better to get your profit targets filled, even if you had to pull your profit targets in, you didn't get the full profit amount? It's better to get those profit targets filled instead of waiting for the market to pull all the way back and hit those stop losses. So this is kind of just, again, another simple example here of using BlackBird to manage your profit targets, based on some market conditions. And so I just need to, move forward a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so now we can see, so now we're gonna, I'm gonna use this uptrend here to kind of demonstrate, or show you what you can do with your profit targets. So let's see here. Let's go into a long trade. And so again, we have our entry order is just following the indicator, waiting for a little pullback to get filled, like so. All right, so again, just kind of demonstrating that you can design your entry orders to do, various tasks. So there we go. We got filled. And we're going to see again these stop losses split, right? So as the market moves up, and let me speed this up a little bit. So as the market moves up, we're going to see those stop losses split again. So let's see here at 8:14. Yeah, so I got 14 minutes, a little bit of time here to go. So let's kind of speed this up. And we'll just kind of recap this again. There, let's turn it back on. I hit the pause button there. Let's see. Also, let me slow this down here. I'll take this opportunity here. So while we're waiting for the market to move up here, also something else I wanted to show you, for those discretionary traders that do want to take over or have the power to manage their trade, we have the order monitor panel here, and we can see the status of our orders, right? So we can see here that our entry order was filled. We can see the working price of our profit target, right? And we can see that our stop loss has been accepted and working as well. So, so you can keep an eye on things here. And also I wanted to point out here that you have some break-even buttons here. So this break-even button, it's got a scroll wheel or scroll buttons here. So you can determine what kind of break-even offset you want. So if you want a break-even minus, 1 tick or minus 2 ticks, you can do that. Definitely the most popular option is that we hear is people like to use a break-even +1. It's the most common requested break-even, and you can set that to whatever you want. If you want it to be a break-even +6, you can do that. Right? And if I hit that button, if I hit the break-even button, it's going to move my stop losses up to break-even. So actually, let me go ahead and do that. And bingo, there we go. And let's see, what's the time? Oh, I got plenty of time. So we can see, right, my stops have moved to break-even. Now, I've decided to manually intervene into this trade. So BlackBird is smart enough that it turned off the auto trailing, right? We can see that there's an indication of feedback here on the menu that tells you the auto trading is off. The auto trailing is turned off, right? Because I decided to manually go to break even. So I'm intervening and taking over control. And so therefore you don't have to wrestle with the software, right? So yeah, auto trailing will turn itself off, and then you can turn that back on whenever you want. So if I want to, I can use the global, auto trailing button up here, turn it back on, and it turned on the auto trailing for both of my orders here. So, but you can see that you have in control of each individual order set. That's what we call these. These are called order sets, right? So when you have a profit target paired with a stop loss, right, that's an order set. And you have full control over each order set here and how you want to manage them. So, and then also in the purple there, you can see the scale in buttons. So if you like to scale in, you can definitely do that, and you can adjust the number of contracts there to scale in as well. So let's see, what's our time here? We're at 8:07. All right, so we're kind of getting there. Let me speed things along here. I'm going to speed things along here so we can see the profit target automated management that I've told these profit targets to do here. So actually, let me kind of explain that a little bit. So I'm going to slow the market replay down, and let me kind of scroll back here to help explain what these profit targets are going to do. Let's see. All right. So we have a little bit of a mini uptrend here. So this is good enough for me to explain, right? So what's the one kind of tell that the market might give you when a trend is going to end? Well, it's fairly simple. If it's an uptrend, there's no new highs, right? So we can see here, here's a high. And if we look here, basically the market just starts consolidating, and here's an equal, now actually that's a lower high. So it went up, that's a lower high. The market actually did eventually make us, did go a couple of ticks higher. But, the point being is that, if the market just kind of fluffs off, right, that could be a clue that the trend might be coming to an end. And, obviously, as we can see in hindsight, obviously it did come off. So what I've done is I've set these profit targets up so that if there's no new highs being made within 6 bars, then pull these profit targets to the recent bar high, right? Pull these profit targets down into the recent high. So, yeah. So, all right. So we got this little uptrend, and here's the most recent high, and we can see there's a little bit of pullback. And so if the market doesn't keep moving higher, if there's no new high made, right, that might be a clue that maybe the market's going to pause for a little bit. So if we don't get a new high within 6 bars, these profit targets are going to get pulled down, automatically pulled down to the most recent, to the highest high, right, within the last 6 bars, I think, 5 or 6 bars. So, and let's see here. I think we have a couple more bars to go. Yeah, so once this bar closes, and let's see here at 8:14. All right, so we have another minute and a half to go. So I'll speed this up a little bit here. All right. So again, here we go. So let's see, this bar that's building right now, right, there we go. It made an equal high, right? So we can see these 2 highs are equal, but there's no new high yet. So if there's no new high, these profit targets are going to automatically pull themselves in, right? Because that's what I told BlackBird to do. That's what I set BlackBird up to do for me. And let's see, here we go, 8:14, and big O, let me pause it, and there we go. We can see these profit targets pulled in, and I set them up to be 1 tick above the high, right? 1 tick above that high right there. So now, of course, you can set this up, to whatever you believe, is most profitable and most beneficial. So if you wanted to, I could have set these profit targets to 1 tick below, these 2 highs if I wanted to, right? So again, this is all to illustrate the flexibility that you have in semi-automating, your stop losses, your profit targets, and your entry orders, right? You have that total flexibility, to take your trading ideas and plug them into BlackBird and let BlackBird manage this stuff for you. Again, anybody who's ever traded live, I'm sure you guys have experienced trader fatigue. The amount of focus you put on a trade, after a couple of hours of that, that's just a tremendous amount of, what I call, trader fatigue, all that focus. Especially if you're the type of trader that likes to, manage your trades, based on what you're seeing here. And so now you can offload, if all of that, or at least some of that, onto BlackBird and kind of hopefully reduce that trader's fatigue and, make less mistakes. Now, again, I want to just emphasize, BlackBird can help you manage things, but you're not locked into what BlackBird will do. So I can always, and you can always override what BlackBird is doing. You can always override it. So if I don't believe that this is the end of the trend, I can always take my profit targets and move them back out if I wanted to. I can always, you are always in control, of your trade. So BlackBird's never going to lock you in to any situation. So, all right. Yeah. So let me kind of pull these back down here. And let's play this here. And it just so happens that this did actually turn out to be a good trade. And there we go. So the market did actually kind of, luckily, moved higher, and we could see it, right? It filled our profit targets, thankfully. Instead of waiting for the market to pull back and hit our stop losses, right? It's preferred that we make those few extra ticks in getting those profit targets filled, right? So, so whatever kind of, ideas you might have, of that tells you when a trend, might be coming to an end or the market's consolidating, again, you can use BlackBird. You can, program that into BlackBird and let BlackBird kind of monitor that, monitor those conditions for you. So, and let's see here. Let's continue this here. So I actually have one last, we have one last little thing here. I can just kind of recap this again for you guys. And so let's speed this up. And let's see here. Yeah, another 10 minutes needs to go by here. So yeah, shortly here, that entry order is going to get filled again, right? So we can just see our entry order was following the indicator, waiting for that little pullback, like so. And shortly, we're going to get this entry filled. Just going to shrink this up. There we go. All right, let me slow things down a little bit. Actually, no, I've got plenty of time. There. So, and, again, this is probably a very typical illustration. We can see, the oil here made a nice little trend run. And, how many of you have ever kind of gotten into a trade, and it just happened to be basically the end of that trend run, right? You never know, right? You never know if it's going to be the end of that run or not, so, but here we are, in a trade again. We got picked up. So there's a high that was made after getting filled. There's a little high there, right there. And so if we don't get another higher high, we don't get a new high in the next 6 bars, then again, our profit targets are going to pull in, because we never know if this might be the end of the run. So let's at least try and get something out of this trade, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So there's an equal high, but we didn't get a new high. And let me stop this quick. There we go. This is going to happen so quickly. So there we go. Our profit targets pulled in, and hopefully, cross fingers, right? Hopefully those profit targets will get filled. So at least you walk away with something, right? That's going to be much better than having our stop losses filled. So, and let me slow this down a little bit. This does happen quickly. Actually, bingo, that was over. So let me stop this. Actually, I did have it paused. Right there, we can see that this bar, if I stretch this out, you can see this bar here closed, on the inside of our indicator. And so our stop losses, moved up as they were, programmed to do. Our stop losses moved up into the market, closed that trade out, right, and we were done. So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Some few other things I wanted to touch upon, show you guys quickly before I switch it back over to Jeremy here. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I showed you guys the break even. So let's take a look under the hood here. Let's go into the order settings here. So basically, think of this as like the central control here for BlackBird. Right. So here's my 2 order sets. So let me just kind of show you a sneak peek of the stop losses here. And I'm on the trailing actions tab. And this is where you set up the trailing rules. So you can see I have 3 simple trailing rules here, right? So the first one is to trail, right, this deviation stop line number 3, right, which is the outer line. So this outer line, right, is line number 3 here. So that's what this first trailing rule is doing. It's just having our stop loss follow that one, and then this second trailing rule. This is the one that says, okay, when our first profit target gets filled, then move the stop loss to the middle line. And then this last trailing rule is the one that says, all right, if the market or if the bar closes, inside our indicator, then move the stop loss into the market and just close out that trade. All right, so 3 simple trailing rules there, to create all of those, customized controls over your stop loss. And the profit targets. Let's take a look at the profit targets here. So, the profit targets just have one simple trailing rule, which was, right, pull those profit targets in if we don't have any new highs, right? And so to do that, just to give you guys a little sneak peek here, to do that, that's what this triggering functionality is for, right? So these trigger mechanisms is what makes BlackBird, so flexible and so powerful, way beyond what the ATM can do or anybody else's strategy can do, right? These triggering mechanisms. Yeah, so just to kind of show you, right, here are the various triggering conditions, right? So basically, what are triggers? Those are just conditions, right? When you're looking at your chart, you're looking at, various conditions. And so I've got a handful of triggering conditions that are what they're doing is they're monitoring price action, and they're looking for that new high, in the bars, or they're looking for that new low. And if they don't see a higher high or a higher low, then this is all going to trigger, and then BlackBird knows, okay, let's pull our profit targets in, right, because no new highs have been made. And then lastly, our entry order. Again, just another simple, trailing rule here with the entry order, which is just, just follow this deviation stop, inside line, just trail that, waiting for that little market pullback. So very simplistic there. So let's see. Yeah, let me show you up here. The signals. So the trade signals here, right? This is what turns BlackBird into a full auto trader, right? So right now, BlackBird's not going to enter a trade by itself because it doesn't know when it should. So if you want to turn, BlackBird into a full auto trader, all you need to do is supply trade signals to it. And there's basically, two options here. There's Bloodhound signals, right? So Bloodhound is our other product. So you can provide Bloodhound signals to BlackBird, or you can use anybody else's third-party indicator that is designed to give you trade signals, right? So one of our partners, Lucrum Trading, he has an indicator that provides trade signals. Indicator Warehouse, they have their DTS system, and so their DTS indicator, provides or generates trade signals as an indicator. I think E-mini Sniper has one, or at least they used to have, their little E-mini Sniper indicator that would generate trade signals, right? And you can plug those, right into BlackBird and basically turn those indicators into your own custom auto trader, right? And then that way you have full control of the orders. You have full control of your profit targets and stop losses, if you want to do that. So anyways, there you go. So this is what, again, turns BlackBird into a full auto trader. And so when you are running a full auto trader, you're typically going to want to monitor risk reward. So there's a risk management button here. You're definitely going to want some money management controls. Like for example, here's a typical one, right? Max number of trades, right? Nobody wants to make the broker rich. So you never know what kind of trading day, you might be trading in. And so, it's possible where, the market is just so volatile that your system is just taking a ton of trades. So you may not want your system to overtrade. And so you can, so one of the typical things here is maximum number of trades per day. So, and also some, the most requested here, is turn your auto trader off once you've achieved some kind of, maximum profit for the day. Turn the trader off. Same thing, for losses. You never know what kind of day you're going to have. So if you, hit a certain loss point, just stop trading for the day. So very common ones. And I showed you guys already the risk per trade if you want to automatically scale up or scale down the number of contracts there. And then down here, this is the daily watermark here. So again, you can set up what parameters you want the watermark to follow here. You can set that all up. It's very flexible. Yeah. So anyways, that's the quick rundown of the money management. And then also another heavily requested feature here is the scheduling, right? So again, this kind of go into a typical day of a trader, right? You might get to your trading desk an hour before the market opens or a half hour, that way you get NinjaTrader all turned on and ready to go, make sure everything's running great. And so, you may not want to wait for the market to open. So you may just want to set, BlackBird up, get it all queued up, ready to go, before the market opens, but you don't want to be trading, outside of the RTH, outside of the, market hours, because you don't want to go into those extended margin. Yeah, there you go, margin. So, right, you don't want to, pay for that extra margin that's required to trade outside the market hours. So you can turn on the scheduling, right, and you pick, when BlackBird is allowed to trade, right? And again, this is for auto trading, and you can set this all up. So that way you can turn BlackBird on early, but BlackBird won't trade until it's inside of these trading hours here, right? So BlackBird's just going to quietly wait until, we get to 9:30 Eastern time. So there is a time zone down here, right? So once we're inside the market, the RTH hours, then BlackBird will start auto trading for you. Also, of course, you have full flexibility control of this. Like oil traders, this is the most commonly set up feature for oil traders is, they don't want to be trading during that Wednesday inventory report. So oil traders will typically, block out that period of time when the oil inventory report comes out. They don't want their BlackBird trading during that time because quite often it could be quite chaotic. So you can block out any kind of time that you want. Another thing I hear a lot is traders don't want to trade Friday afternoons. Definitely seems like during the summertime, right, when the big hedge fund guys are gone, Friday afternoons can be typically very quiet and just kind of range bound. And so they just want to stay out of that. And so you could just clip off Friday afternoon, right? It was just that easy. Just drag it up, drag it down. So, yeah. And of course, you can always open this up, and then there's a little control panel. And you can type in, to the second, when you want to start and end, things like that. So, yeah, let me, give me a moment here. I'm just going to reset this, put it back to the default trading hour session here. So there we go. There, reset it. All right. So there's the scheduler. Yeah, basically that's there. There you go. That's our little quick preview of, again, just, some of the simple things that BlackBird can do for you. It's really, whatever you can kind of think of, there's a good chance BlackBird will take care of that for you. So, all right, with that, let me pass it over to Jeremy, and he's going to kind of wrap things up for you. And then I'm sure there's lots of Q&A questions waiting for us. And so once Jeremy wraps things up, we will get to your Q&A.
All right. Thanks, Zach. What you kind of witnessed there, I just want to point out, like something like moving the profit targets in and tightening everything. That's a very common tactic that we saw a lot of discretionary traders do. And when you really think about it, it's quite ingenious because the point is, right, you could just simply exit the trade, or you could try to eke out a couple ticks, right? And even if it's just 50-50, 50% of the time you just get stopped out, 50% of the time you get hit your profit target. And when it's really tight, you tighten it in. You might actually make a fair bit of difference in the long run. And so again, those are things that you can easily just program right into BlackBird. And again, the whole point being is that BlackBird can mimic you can get it to mimic what a human trader will do. So I'm just going to sum up really quickly. This is by no means an exhaustive list of features that are built into BlackBird, but just kind of run the gamut of a bunch of random stuff that I'd like to point out. For example, the fact that you can use any kind of different entry that you'd like, be it market, limit, stop, or stop limit entries. Anything is movable. Any kind of order is movable. You saw the entries move around. You saw the profit targets move around. You saw the stop losses move around. They're all built around the same trigger action trailing rule system, a lot of which can be also driven by indicators. So you can actually use indicators to drive logic to trigger things. You can use indicators as well to have things trail by value, as well as you can use indicators to enter and exit your trade system. And so that applies to any kind of indicator that may be built, or it's not built in, but sorry, installed onto your machine. You saw a bunch of discretionary controls as well, the dynamic position sizing. That was a pretty cool demo there with him able to plan kind of where everything is going to go before you execute. It's a really amazing feature. Takes a lot of risk out of them, of basically having live positions on and then scrambling to put them where they're supposed to be, which is a lot of what we see a lot of ATM traders do. The ATM, as I pointed out before, only has like a limit of 3 different types of profit targets and stops. We don't put any sort of limits on you. If you want 100 different profit targets and stops, be our guest. And you saw other things like the scheduling and the daily count limits that are related to the money management side of a thing. So that's kind of like, again, just a little bit of a smattering of what BlackBird can do. And I want to talk about the value, right? We've definitely seen a lot of other kind of competing products that don't do anywhere near as much as BlackBird can do, selling for many thousands of dollars. And as you can guess, like our company philosophy is more about just providing as many people, as many people as possible, the power to trade as best as possible. And so we price our stuff extremely aggressively. I also want to point out that our software is supported both in NT7 if you're still using that, and NT8. We have thousands of users. We're always improving. We're always kind of adding new features, and this is kind of where you guys come in as well. We take a lot of your feedback, and we have a lot of our support staff, Mike, Keith, and Zach are all out there, gathering suggestions, seeing how you use the product. And this is where it gets really exciting for us, is because we get to see our product actually used in ways that we honestly never even thought was possible or even dreamed up. And it's always extremely exciting to see that. I like to look at our products. They're kind of like, think about it as like Photoshop, right? And you guys are like the artists, right? And so our product is kind of like a blank canvas. It's an amazing tool that you can use to paint kind of whatever picture you want, using whatever artistry, whatever style that you desire. And really that's kind of how we view BlackBird and our other product, Bloodhound, too, is that you are the artist and you actually create the artwork. You create the trade system. We also have a 100% money back guarantee, and that's basically, we're probably the only ones in the industry that do this, but basically if you're not happy with the product in 30 days, just shoot us back an email and we'll take care of it. We sell BlackBird for $14.95. It's an extremely aggressive price, especially for this industry, but it is Shark Week, and those of you guys have been sort of following our pricing and our products for some time, you also know that we don't discount our products often. In fact, there's really only 1 or 2 times a year that we do this, Shark Week being one of them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take $14.95 and knock $500 off and sell it for $9.95. I'm also going to put together, that's $500 in savings, by the way, but we're also going to put together kind of a neat little package. And I think before we do that, I'm going to explain what this is all about. So we do have these things. We call them the trade management packs. And what they are is pre-built templates for BlackBird. Now these basically just take care of just the order management side of it, not the entries, okay, just to be clear, just how the orders are actually managed when you're in the trade. So presumably you enter manually, or you have some sort of indicator signal or automated signal that you can use to enter. But for example, we have 3 different packs. But for example, the first one here I'm going to talk about is the Mighty Scalpers pack. This one's kind of based off, or it's great for scalping. And this is again another example. You can actually trade these straight out of the box if you want. But this is kind of like great for those of you that like ATRs and volatility-based trading. And so we do have another pack as well. It's called the Bollinger Spike. This one is a great little example of how to play the Bollinger Bands by moving your stop losses according to an indicator value. And so you can trade this out of the box, or you can use this as an example on how you trail stop losses by indicator value. The last one's probably the most sophisticated of the bunch, and this is the Keltner channel. It actually does something quite similar to what you saw in the demo today. And the idea is that you can actually have the stop losses bounce between these different channel levels according to certain conditions, and in this case it's profits. And that's, again, a great little example of how to do that kind of thing. And so these 3 packs, each of which have multiple templates inside with kind of very different variations. I'm just going to bring up the next slide, but we sell them for, okay, we already know that BlackBird sells for $14.95, but we sell them the Mighty Scalpers pack for just under $200, the Bollinger Spike pack for just under $250, and the Keltner channel pack for $300. Total value, if you're to purchase this all at retail price together, would be $22.42. And for Shark Week, we're going to price this extremely aggressively, and we're going to put it together in a bundle for $11.95. Now, I just want to point out, that price is actually lower than the cost of BlackBird by itself, and it's almost it's nearly 50% in savings. So extremely aggressive Shark Week special we're putting out there. And just to sum up, this is the three different, I only talked about these two, right? These are the two sort of deals that I've talked about. But the third one here is for those of you that actually own BlackBird already and you want to take advantage and actually buy the trade management packs. You can go ahead and do so. So yeah, we're just going to put this out there. This is the deal that we're going to be presenting for basically the remainder of July. And to get there, just go to sharkweeksale.com, and it should bring up a page just like this with the three different bundle values. So I want to sort of, just before we kind of transition into the Q&A section, again, I just want to, thank you. First of all, for attending Shark Week. It was a very long week with a lot of presenters, and us kind of going last. I'm thankful you guys stuck around to listen to us, because that was a lot of presentation time. And so we always try to put together a good grand finale, and hopefully now at this point you have a very good idea of what BlackBird can do for you, and I hope you can see the value. So definitely take advantage of that. That's going to expire at the end of July, which is 5 days. So I think at this point, what we should do is actually, Zach and I should go through and take a look at the questions.
Okay, yeah, great. So basically, guys, we'll hang around long enough to make sure that we get everybody's question answered. As best we can here. So, and also I'd just like to ask everybody here, I'm pretty sure that there are some questions that went into the chat window. So guys, I would really greatly appreciate that if you put your question in the chat window, if you would please copy your question out of the chat window and paste it into the question and answers window. So that way everything's all in one location for us, and it just makes it really easy for us to find the questions, so that way we can get through them, as quickly as possible, save you guys a bunch of time and save us a bunch of time. So I'd really appreciate if you guys would kind of help work with us. And just put all your questions in the question and answer window there. So
yeah, just to reiterate, there's actually two ways to communicate through this webinar platform, and one is through the chat, and the other is through Q&A, the question and answer window. So just make sure you figure out which one's which. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see here. The first one here is from Robert S. So Robert, that sounds a little more of a tech support question. So Robert, let me kind of set your question to the side, and I'll get back to this towards the end here. Let's see. Anonymous is asking, can you learn Bloodhound and BlackBird using the trial with live data? Absolutely. So we do have we have two different trials. So there's a 30-day, the first 30 days gives you a full trial period. And then after the 30 days, the software goes into what we call a restricted trial period. So it still operates, but there's a few restrictions kind of placed on it, so that way people don't kind of, take advantage of our software there. So absolutely, you can take your time, to learn to use our software, at your convenience. So, the restricted trial isn't going to prevent you from learning the software at all. So everything, still works during the restricted trial period, as far as learning the software goes. So, all right. Let's see. Robert's saying that the link to Lizard Indicator does not work. Sorry, Robert. You guys could just Google Lizard Indicators, and absolutely Google will bring up their website, on the first page there. So, if our link didn't work, sorry about that, but just Google Lizard Indicators. So, let's see here. Sam is asking, can you integrate your system with next-gen? Yeah, so I think, there's a couple people I think that asked about, and Al was also asking about next-gen as well. So, well, we can't speak directly to what other companies' indicators, are compatible, because it's really up to them. So this gets a bit technical, but really NinjaTrader does allow you to write an indicator, and they allow you to prevent other indicators from reading that indicator. So it's really up to that third-party company. But with that being said, NextGen, used to be a partner of ours, and it's our understanding that, John has kept all of his indicators compatible with Bloodhound, and if his indicators work fine with Bloodhound, they will also work with BlackBird as well, right? So to really know, John knows Bloodhound very well, so to find out exactly which of his indicators are compatible, with Bloodhound and or BlackBird, it's best, to go ask John, and he should be able to give you a solid answer on that. So, but also there's some videos, there's some Bloodhound workshop videos out there as well that show you how to test an indicator as well. And so if you ever need help with that, you can always email our support, and we can point you to those videos that will show you how to test a third-party indicator, to make sure that they made their indicator, usable in a system. It's kind of a simple way of saying it, So, all right, let's see. Alex. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I was just going to answer Alex's really quick. He's asking if the orders, when they, assuming you're not talking when they're getting filled, but the OC, yeah, okay. So basically, when you get an entry, when the OCO goes on, is it placed on the exchange or sitting on the local machine? And the answer is it actually goes on to the exchange itself. I kind of know where you're going with this. You're thinking about maybe sort of a simulated or ghost orders. That's something that is something that we're considering. But we don't have a development timeline for that particular feature. But I hope that answers your question. It basically sits on the exchange, or it's submitted to the broker, I should say, more specifically.
Yeah, it's submitted to your broker, and of course, some brokers do have, at least I've heard of this. Some brokers do have the ability to, kind of ghost your stop losses, but that is absolutely on the broker side. All right, let's see here. Franz has got the next question.
Yep. Yeah, I think Franz probably wants to take a look and see what that looks like. Maybe the interface, to see if it works with what is that what I'm getting from you, Franz?
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I think Franz is interested in seeing the indicator-based trade signals. So yeah, let me switch over to my screen here.
And so while you're doing that, I'm going to answer his second question, which is BlackBird able to automatically intervene in a current trade and close it automatically when the watermark is reached, and not let another entry after that? And the answer is yes. That's exactly what the watermark does. And I'm not sure if you were there, but basically there's a couple modes that you can actually have it run in. As I mentioned before, and you can actually have that so that it works intra-trade, or you can have it so it sort of works only after the trade is complete and is done. So in other words, you can have it examine unrealized profit during an existing trade that's on, and examine it intra-trade and basically intervene right inside the trade before it gets a chance to close out. Or you could set it so that it, thank you, Zach, that's where you put it. Or you can have it set where it has to complete the trade first before it stops trading.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, here's what the indicator-based signal looks like. Up top here is where you would plug your indicator in. And I don't actually have any third-party indicators that generate trade signals, but you can see from the list here right? I do have some of lizard indicators on here, but they don't have any that generate trade signals per se, right? But you can see just from the list, I can go through here and you can pick, your third-party indicator that does generate a trade signal. Actually, no, you know what? There is a NinjaTrader one here. Let's see, where is it? The candlestick pattern. Yeah, actually their candlestick pattern does kind of throw out signals, based on the candlestick patterns that you set the indicator up, to look for, right? So yeah, so as an example here, right, if you wanted to look for the morning star candlestick pattern there. And so what you do is, right, the indicator is going to provide you either a plot or a data series, that for the signal. So here it says pattern found, but typically, a third-party indicator like the DTS system, it'll say signal or something like that, trade signal or something like that. And just make sure it's selected like so. And yeah, and then down here is where you determine, what value is coming out of that indicator. So typically, you're going to get a positive one for a long signal, and typically you'll get a -1 value, for a short signal. And so the default settings here are set up for those typical situations. So, yeah. Cool. And then you could also, depending on how powerful or what indicator you have, if your indicator generates exit signals, then you could also do that too, right? You could turn on the exit signals, which will close out the trade, via an indicator or via a signal coming from your indicator. So there. All right, so that's what that looks like. Let's see. So who do we have next?
We got Anonymous asking if the stuff that you demoed will be available for training purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna upload this file here. So yeah, with BlackBird, of course, when you set all this stuff up, you obviously want to save it to a file so you can load it up later on. So yeah, I have this file saved out, and we'll upload it in our downloads area. But you guys can just simply email our support and ask us for this file if you want a copy of it. That way you guys can study it, and hopefully you guys can learn some things, learn how to use BlackBird and whatnot, and have fun with it and play around with it. So yeah, just email our support, and we can email the download link back to you guys. And of course, if you're on the trial, you can still load this file up during the trial period as well.
Okay. Somebody's asking if we have a video library for BlackBird. Can you maybe bring up that?
Yes, right. So here, going back to the training workshops here. Yeah, we have so down here at the bottom where you can see the recorded workshops. And so here in the blue, BlackBird again, open that up, and you can see there's a huge library of all these workshops. So, right, and at the very bottom of this list gets into the training videos, right? So basically, when BlackBird first came out, I did these workshops are basically all just about training and on all the different components of BlackBird. Yeah, so if you really want to dive in deep, about all the different components in BlackBird, just scroll down to the bottom down there, and the very videos in the beginning, will walk you through those.
Yeah, and Zach works, I said this, sorry, the team works quite hard. Zach, of course, runs those demos. They're very, very thorough. He spends a lot of time with it, so it's a tremendous amount of effort that's put into this sort of thing, and he goes through incredible detail, and we also have Keith Wolf that does the editing for those videos. So we do put a lot of effort into these training workshops and whatnot in these training videos. So we hope the hope that it'll pay off, and that you guys can learn as much as possible from them. Trader's asking, what if we don't know the code of our third-party indicators? And Trader, that's actually the majority of the case, and that's not a problem at all. Certainly, BlackBird or the code does not have to be available in your library of indicators for it to work. You can, yeah, that's just not a prerequisite is what I'm getting at. It worked just fine. All right, anonymous attendee is asking manual or cheat sheet for BlackBird NT8. Not quite sure what you mean by cheat sheet. But oh, I see, manual. Okay, yeah, the documentation. Zach, maybe just
Oh yeah,
yeah.
okay,
As
right.
I guess that's what
Documentation
he's
or
referring
cheat
to there.
sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so right here, so from any of our documentation pages here, I guess the easiest way is just support documentation, and then here's just click on the big icon, Blackbird, and then you can see there's a Blackbird section right there. So yeah, Blackbird actually kind of breaks down into just really a couple of core sections there. Let's see, let's go to the order settings here. Right, so there you go. There's the interface kind of broken down into its three main components there. And then there's links down here that'll take you to the pages for each of those sections there. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, there's no cheat sheet per se, although there is kind of, I guess you could say, a cheat sheet built into Blackbird. So here's the interface. So to get started, when you're setting up your orders, there are some cheat sheets, right? So obviously, the first thing you need to do is select your entry order. So if you just want to submit a market entry, do that. And then for profit targets, there's a couple of quick lists here, to get you started very quickly. And so even if you don't want a 10-tick profit target, you could just select that, and then you just easily go in here and adjust it to whatever you want it to be. If you want it to be a 20-tick, there you go. So basically a lot of it's set up for you, and you can just make the quick minor adjustments there. Same with the stop losses. There's even more options here in the stop losses. So there's a trailing section for the stop losses. So there is a quick list. I guess you could kind of consider the quick list as like a little bit of a cheat sheet. Easy way to get you going quickly there. So.
Okay, I'm afraid, Zach, I'm not sure if I understand the next question, but maybe you do, from Weldon there.
Weldon here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Weldon's asking, for a volume count, right? Basically, Weldon's asking. So for everybody else in the room, Weldon is asking. So basically, Weldon, the short answer is no. But to kind of explain, this in this demonstration, right? I demonstrated, some of the ideas that that some of our customers came up with, to help prevent these wicks, from taking you out of a trade too soon. So Weldon's asking, can Blackbird count the volume that took place at that price point? And so no, that would be the job of basically a volume profile indicator to do that. So yeah, so I'd say you'd need to find a volume profile indicator that can do that, because that's definitely a highly a highly unique scenario situation doing something like that. Yeah. So no, unfortunately, no, Blackbird doesn't do that.
Yeah, but having said that, you can use the profile indicator pipes out the kind of output that you need it to do. Presumably, it could be incorporated, like that data, that information can be interpreted in such a way to affect the behavior of Blackbird.
Yeah, you would definitely need a specialized indicator, to do that specialized condition that you're looking for, and then it could output its results, and then Blackbird could read it and do something based on that specific condition. So yeah.
All right. Tony asking if you could demo NT volume profile indicators with your tools.
let's see. That would be, let's see, Tony, that would, well, actually, no, maybe not. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Let's see. So, you know, NinjaTrader's VWAP, no, the VWAP works. Yeah, you know, it's really surprising that only a few of Ninja's order flow indicators are actually readable and usable in the system. But let's see here. Let's just make a market entry. So yeah, so let's just say you want to set your profit target to, let's do a custom here. And let's go to the placement. Then we're going to set this up to use an indicator. And then go here. Let's see, I don't think, no. Lizard indicator, yeah, it doesn't have any free volume indicators, but let's go down here to the, oh, past it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we can see, you know, out of all of Ninja's order flow indicators, they only made a couple of them, you know, usable in a system. But here's the VWAP. Well, let's see, volume profile. Yeah, you know what? Their volume profile, it does have some outputs, but they don't work as expected here. So I wouldn't recommend using NinjaTrader indicators. We do have some partners with some volume footprint type of indicators, you know, that might have what you're looking for. So I would recommend, you know, if you go to our website, you can go to our vendors list here. And so we have a new vendor here that joined us. And let's see if I can find him. And, oh, looks like we haven't gotten his information. Anyways, it's Zone Trader Pro. Has some volume type of indicators here. And so Zone Trader Pro. Let's see here. Let's type that in. Let's see, I don't want reviews. There we go, Zone Trader Pro. And yes, I think this is it. And yeah, here's his indicator. So you can check them, you know, and see if they have see if they have an indicator that outputs, you know, what you're looking for, you know, from the volume profile, and whether or not, you know, it's compatible with Bloodhound, you know, and or BlackBird. So there definitely are other companies out there that have volume, you know, profile or volume footprint type of indicators that will work with Bloodhound and BlackBird, you know, but you just have to kind of ask around and talk to all the other vendors to see if they've, you know, tested their stuff with our software. So, you know, or get a trial from them. Then, yeah, you can test their stuff yourself. So,
okay.
All right. So, yeah.
Michael O just wants to see a quick example with Bloodhound being used as a buy, or basically a entry signal.
Oh, as an entry signal? Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So let's go to the signals here and just select Bloodhound. Right. And then from here, right, Bloodhound works with a template file system, right? So when you build, you know, a set of logic in Bloodhound, you ultimately want to save that to a file so you can load it up later, right? So here's where you would load that file into BlackBird. So you can see it's going to load up the Bloodhound interface, and then from here just go to File and go to Open. So yeah, there we go. So here's an old file from a previous webinar here, the Caesar salad demo. So I can select that, and there you go. So you can see there's all the solvers, and here's the here's the logic, that was built. So we can just click OK. And then we can see we have, again, two options here. You can set up, what the interest signals, that tells BlackBird, when to place a trade. And you could also enable exit signals that tells BlackBird to flatten out the entire trade as well. So from here, right, you just choose, whichever, logic template from Bloodhound you want, the entry signals from. So something like that. So there you go.
Okay. Tony L is asking if the other vendors honor the end of July sale date. Now, this time around, we actually didn't. Keith, you might be able to pipe in on this one because I'm not entirely sure if we asked our vendors to all use the same end date or not.
Not officially. They each, most of them had an end date listed at the end of their webinar, but definitely reach out to them for more information. Ours is unique to us.
All right. Yeah, so no official end date, but they're all basically honoring to the end of the month.
Okay. Franz is asking, do you have the exact template that you just showed? I think we answered that, right? Or showed the exact template that you showed in the demo. And he thanks us for our great work, and thank you, Francis. Oh, okay, I guess your name's Francis. Sorry for calling you the wrong name.
As mentioned earlier, guys, we're going to upload this BlackBird file here so you guys can play around with it and add it to your arsenal there. Yeah, so just email our support. Just email support@Shark Indicators. And ask us for the BlackBird file from today's webinar, and we'll get you that link as soon as we can. We'll get you that download link.
Mm-hmm. So Tim's asking, can you trail a stop from a wick, high or low? And absolutely you can. You can trail it from the close, the wicks, the highs, the lows. You can set offsets on them. You can even use an indicator offset from any certain point. There you go. That's a quick, what you call a quick setting. You click that.
Quick list. Yep.
Sets it up real quick. I'll go ahead and click it, and you can sort of show. But I want to see, you can maybe show some of the flexibility of where you can put the initial placement. So you can have it actually. So this is a really cool feature. You can base it on price. If you look at the very top, it says select mode. So right now he's got it on price, but after you drop down, you can actually select indicators, swing points. The linear regression channel is a bit of a special case. But yeah, and then you can actually apply offsets to it as well. So under price, actually, even if you drop down the price, if you go kind of like where the long, right there. So you can see there's also a variety of different price types that you can use, like the bid ask, etc., the median. They're all basically available there. You can also set look back periods for each one. If you don't want to use the current bar, you can look back a couple bars. And you even have kind of like control over how, like say for example, you put a look back at 3, you can have them average it, find the min or max. Those are and all just sort of like a lot of flexibility there. Of course, you could, in theory, accomplish that with also an indicator, but it's just convenient to have it all built in right through BlackBird. Hope that answers your question. And Todd Hunt, I think this is a question for you, Zach, because I'm not as
Let's see. Todd's asking, how fully developed is the template for Pure Financial Academy? I'd say you need to ask them, really. We're not Nazis here. We can't dictate to our partners as to what they can do. They're running their own company. It's Will did work with me. I'm always working with our partners if they need help, building stuff out for Bloodhound and or BlackBird. So, whether something's fully developed or not, I can't speak to that because, I don't know other people's methodologies. I know of what PFA and Will is doing, in a general term, but I'm not a student of his. I'm not in his trade room, so I don't know his trading methodology, down to a T. Only somewhat, So really, to get detailed answers like that, you really do need to talk to the vendor, who is the one who is in control of his templates. I'm not in control of what Will does with his templates. It's his business. So yeah. So sorry, Todd. Yeah, can't really give you a better answer. Other than go talk to the vendors directly and get from them. It's my understanding, and talking with Will, he's a very honest guy. And he'll tell you what's up. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So Robert's asking, is there an easier way to switch trading accounts, i.e. brokerages, from account A or B, IRA to Roth, for etc., from BlackBird's interface when it's enabled?
No, that's a NinjaTrader basically limitation. That's controlled by NinjaTrader here. Yeah, so if I cancel out of this, go into the strategies window, and let me add it. I'm going to add another BlackBird here so we can see. But that is controlled by this BlackBird or NinjaTrader setting. I'm sorry. Yeah, this account is a NinjaTrader setting here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just like the little sandbox called the strategy that's built into NinjaTrader kind of puts stipulation on it that you select what account it uses in this kind of interface here. Okay, so let's answer Trader, who asks, have you done a reward scenario on the templates that you have on sale now? Not entirely sure what you mean by reward scenario.
Oh, but I guess, again, guys, they're not auto traders, so they don't trade. There's no entry signals, so they don't trade on their own. They're more for training purposes. So you guys can see, some more complex designs, and hopefully learn from them, and add them to your trading arsenal, to kind of get your juices flowing, your ideas flowing. And, I'm sure all you guys are watching these webinars to learn, new pieces of information, right, to add to your arsenal, to your list of, trading knowledge and stuff like that. Yeah. All right, let's see. Raymond is asking, can BlackBird control maximum number of active positions? Maximum number of active positions. From a discretionary standpoint, no. BlackBird doesn't restrict you when you decide to use BlackBird as a discretionary, for discretionary trading, right? There's nothing in BlackBird that's going to stop you from doing something, all right? I mean, that would just be horrible if some news event comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest opportunity. I need to max out the maximum number of contracts and just go long, right? Because the tariff trade war is over. Pile in, max out my account and go long. But then BlackBird's saying, no, sorry, you can only trade 5 contracts. Right? So it's just discretionary trader, right? Wouldn't it be so frustrating to be overridden by the software, and tell you, no, you can't do that, even though there's some great news event. So as a trading, so as a discretionary trader, no. But as an auto trader, since you're the one setting up the auto trader, then yeah, definitely, you can place limits on things. So like for example, you might have the trade fit turn on and the risk reward. Well, in each of these order sets, there is a quantity scaling setting here, so you can limit the allowed upscaling. So you can see right now by default, BlackBird's only allowed to go up to 12 contracts for order set A, right? And there's a downscale limiter, so it could actually go down to 0 contracts, like so, right? So so you can control, the maximum allowed, upscaling and downscaling of the number of contracts here for each order set, like so. So, yeah, maybe, I don't think you're talking about this, but I did show that, you can limit the number of trades that BlackBird takes. And this is the number of trades, not the number of contracts, though. So, just to be clear on that. All right, so yeah, hopefully I answered that. Or let's see, that was for Raymond. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's close out.
I got it.
Trader. Have you done it? Yeah.
Trader as well. Okay.
Yes, we answered trader. And let's see, I guess, yeah, Robert's up next.
The order monitor is what he's asking. How do you bring up the order monitor? So
Yeah.
actually, the way the interface works, it's very flexible. Why don't you go ahead and tear off some windows and show how they kind of like move around and stuff? Because you can kind of configure how you want your interface to look, and then you can actually take that and save that layout, and you could dock those. Yeah, you can dock it on the side there. Really, only those ones are that one's kind of meant to be a vertical panel there. Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, these docking panels aren't used a whole lot in various software, but they're very convenient in that. So if I unpin this, you can see what it does is it auto minimizes itself, right? So you can see it closes itself in like that, so it's out of the way. So, and we can do this, also over here, with this panel as well. I can minimize all that stuff, and there you go. Everything's kind of collapsed in, and then you can pick and choose, what you want to see there. Yeah. So you just hover the mouse over it, and then there's a little pin icon, and that basically locks it in place. So, yeah. And then if you, since surprisingly, these dockings are new to a lot of people. It would be nice if more software would take advantage of this. But if you do mess things up, there's always a safety button here. So you can go into BlackBird's layout and hit the reset, and you can reset it back to defaults. And there you go. Everything's all restored back to the default settings, and you're up and running again. So, yeah. But you can also save the settings here. So, like for example, actually, let's see if I have one saved. No, I don't have anything saved. But like if I wanted to always have the order monitor panel open like this, all right, let's shrink that up a little bit. Then what I can do is I can go into the layout, and you can see there's a tiny little save button here, a tiny little disk button. And I can click that save, and I can save this. Let's see, let's just say OM, with the order monitor open. So like that, hit save. All right, so then if I hit reset, right, back to defaults, and then I can go in here, and there's a quick list of the different files that I saved for the layout, right? So I can click on that, and there you go. It kind of restored it right back to the way I saved it. So, all right, let's see here.
There's a heat map question. Why don't we save that till the end, because it's sort of a little outside the scope of what we're talking about right now. Tony L's asking if Trade the Plan has been fully tested with Bloodhound and BlackBird. I don't want to speak on behalf of Daniel and Trade the Plan's software. I just do know that they use our stuff all the time. But obviously that's more of a question for them.
Yeah, again, we can't really speak for other vendors because, everybody's always upgrading their software. Every single, vendor, kind of / partner we've ever had nobody ever really stays still with their indicators. They're always constantly upgrading stuff and creating new things and whatnot. So things are constantly in a state of flux. So it's which makes it kind of difficult for us to know, what the current state of affairs is, with everybody else. But, we just kind of trust, that they are keeping stuff compatible, with Bloodhound and Blackbird. So,
Yeah, I'll also say that I know Daniel actually commissioned some very special tools that are literally designed to interface with Blackbird. They have a special reader tool, which is pretty neat because he basically implemented something like, because we were going to build in some kind of interactive. Well, he's got kind of an interactive graphical thing that he can put on his chart and actually pipe in values straight to our software. So I mean, like he's been a partner of ours for a long time. I don't remember how many years, but yeah, he specifically built stuff actually just for our software. So I would imagine all of the stuff that works as tightly integrated as possible.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. Let's see.
There was actually a question, I think it was answered, but somebody asked whether or not Blackbird is usable without Bloodhound, and the answer is absolutely yes. You don't need to own Bloodhound to take full advantage of Blackbird. But having said that, the two complement each other very well. And like I said, you can actually use Bloodhound to enhance Blackbird's functionality by way of Bloodhound. Again, it's a signal generator. It's like a logic engine. You can pipe that kind of logic into Blackbird easily and use them in various different points, not just the entry signals, but you can actually use them to drive certain actions and use them as triggers essentially. So there's some tight integration there. But if you don't have Bloodhound, not a big deal. There's still a lot you can do in Blackbird.
Let's see. Yeah. Kevin is asking if we could demonstrate a backtest on historical data using Blackbird. Let's see. Can I? No, that Caesar salad. Let's see. Is that gonna? No, I'm sorry. I don't have things set up properly. It would take me a long time to get things all set up correctly to be able to do a back test there, Kevin. Sorry. But what I would recommend, you can watch this at any time here. Let's see. Let's go back to our website. So you can go to either the Blackbird page or the Raven page for Bloodhound. And if you scroll down to the bottom, let's see. Actually, wait. Maybe. No. Yeah, let's go down to the bottom down here. And there is a video here. Yeah, there you go. So for back testing, basically, we put this together, this market replay best practices. This was definitely filmed in NinjaTrader 7, but it definitely still applies to the playback connection for NinjaTrader 8. So yeah, the same kind of procedures, best practices, for the market replay apply to the playback connection as well for Ninja 8. So right, and so this video here will show you doing some back testing. So, but kind
Does
of
that also show the strategy analyzer or the right clicking the chart as well, strategy performance, or because there's a couple other ways you can
right.
in the
I
cab,
haven't
basically,
done that in a while.
Yeah.
Or I haven't watched that video in a while, but just to kind of show you without actually showing you. There's a couple of things you need to do here. So again, if you go into the strategies window, let me shrink this up a little bit. Here, I'm going to add a second Blackbird here. Let's see. You want to make sure that the back test mode is turned on. So there you go. So maybe that's what you're experiencing there, Kevin. Is backtest is turned off by default for BlackBird, right? That saves a ton of load time. So if NinjaTrader doesn't have to perform any back testing, then BlackBird's going to load up a lot faster, right? So really, you only want to turn the backtest mode on when you want to do some back testing. Otherwise it's just going to slow down the loading process. So yeah, so just enable that, and then just click OK. Now I'm going to cancel out of it, right? And then BlackBird will do its little back testing, and you can tell it's back testing because you'll see the trade control buttons kind of flickering. They'll be flickering on and off, as trades are being back tested, on and off there. So you see the buttons flickering, and then once it's done, you'll go to the strategy performance here, like so, and I'm pretty sure I won't. Yeah, I scaled back the playback connection, so I don't think I'll have anything in here. But yeah, you pull up NinjaTrader's strategy performance there, and yeah, I don't actually have anything.
Yeah, you also need entry signals too, right? Obviously, nothing's gonna backtest without any entry signals.
Right. Right. There's no entry signals here, so I can't do any back testing, right? So,
but basically, that's how you do it. You make sure obviously you have some kind of entry signal, and then you can do that. You can also use a strategy analyzer as well. If that works perfectly fine. Okay, trader asking, what was the name of the lizard indicator you're using today?
Yeah, let me pull that. I still have that up right here. The deviation stop, right there.
Okay,
it's the deviation stop. So, yeah, just thought it was a cool little indicator here to show, and it made things easy for this demonstration, basically, because it's got 3 different ATR stop lines there. Just kind of made it nice and convenient for a demonstration. So, and it is inside of their trailing stops section, which is down here. Yeah, down here at the bottom of the list is their trailing stops section there. Yeah, that's where you'll find it. So, all right, let's see. Okay, so cool. We got through the BlackBird questions. So let's see here. We promised, all right, Robert, we'd get back to his question. He's asking, this is more of a tech support question. He's asking, what's the maximum number of Ranka bars BlackBird can handle? Let's see, because you're having a problem with charts over 400. Questions like that, there really is no absolute answer because, unlike the typical indicator, right, you might buy from some company, right? So, like for example, these trailing stop indicators, these all have code that these indicators are all hard coded, which means their internal calculations are never going to change. So from that standpoint, right, if your indicator is never going to change, then sure, you could probably calculate, how much processing time it needs. But our tools are designed to be completely flexible. You can make a system as complex as all be out, or you can make a simple crossover system, And so the level of complexity will determine how fast, the software will run on a chart. So there is no answer to that. That can never be answered because it depends on how complex of a system, you designed. So, I guess, in as far as BlackBird goes, if you're using trade signals, well, it depends, how much time does it take, to calculate your trade signals? If you're using a Bloodhound system, how complex is your Bloodhound logic? How many indicators are you using in that Bloodhound logic? That all requires CPU time. Even if you're just using a simple indicator, again, that all, the level of complexity and the number of indicators can be scaled way down or it can be scaled way up. And so that always will determine, how fast Bloodhound and or BlackBird, the software will run. So yeah, and the same thing with your orders. Right? I have these stop losses set up, to use. Luckily, they're only using the one indicator, right? They're using the one indicator over and over and over again with this exact same settings. So therefore, the overhead is pretty minimal. But if I loaded up these, stop losses to use a bunch of different indicators, or maybe the same indicator, but with a bunch of different settings, well, all those different settings have to be calculated by a NinjaTrader. And so, of course, that requires more CPU time. Right. So hopefully you can kind of see that, whenever you add, a new indicator, into the mix or some kind of new condition, it just takes more time to calculate, So, yeah, there is no one answer for those type of questions. So, and also computer speeds, vary greatly out there. Just a little tip, I know a lot of traders love to use laptops. I love my laptop. They're very flexible, but technically speaking, laptop processors are a lot slower than a desktop processor, right? That's how laptops save battery time, is they're not as fast as a desktop CPU. So laptops don't make good backtesting machines. Desktops are far faster than laptops. So there again, there's kind of a difference in, just the hardware can make a big difference too. So there's just a ton of variability, in the whole equation of how fast the software runs. So unfortunately, and just want to remind everybody as well, if you're not a customer, or if you are a customer, if you can, please take advantage, of our live training workshops. These workshops are here to help you guys learn the software as fast as possible, right? It's absolutely free. You don't have to be a customer. You can just come in, ask your questions, learn at your own pace, and then of course, once you're ready, then you can pull the trigger and, and buy the software later, once you've discovered, and feel comfortable that, that our software is going to help you out. Right. So yeah, I just want to remind everybody that you can sign up for these workshops, at any time, and take advantage of them. So, or, at the very least, you can jump onto our YouTube page and subscribe. And that way you'll get a notification whenever a new video goes up. Because, surprisingly, you guys, the customers, come up with a lot of great ideas, and they get captured, in these training workshops. So subscribing to our YouTube page, might be, another way to kind of add just that additional extra information, to your arsenal chest, of trading ideas out there. So, yeah. So, yeah, sign up, take advantage, and don't forget the sale ends at the end of the month.
And I just checked today, our YouTube channel has almost 450 videos on
it. Yeah, we have 7+ years of videos going. So, yeah. All right, guys. I think my throat is about done for. I need a big drink of water here. So I don't see any more questions, guys. So I think we're done.
All right. Let's call it a day. Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, guys. Cool. Yeah. And to the names I recognize on the list, I'll see you guys in the workshops next week. All right, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.